Kala Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and the apostles who taught me this truth. This is your brother Dawad, the real brother beloved, and this is only for the
elect.
As Beijing takes even more extreme measures to try to contain the virus, the central bank has devised a plan to deep clean China's cash. So the way this works is that cash is going to be sanitized with UV light, and then for 7 days, it'll be quarantined for most of the parts of China. But in the epicenter, the quarantine will be for 14 days. And then money that is in hospitals or comes from the market or for public transportation at the epicenter is going to be destroyed. And by that, I mean state media say that the money will be shredded, and then it's going to be packed into bricks and then sent to the local power plant where it's going to be incinerated and then turned into energy.
For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it.
No, I'm going to say some bad words, so those who are faint of heart, you have been officially warned. Now, when I was in the music industry, my sentiment was, I'm not here to be famous. I just need the money to take care of my family. To God be the glory, just give me the paper. Not that I didn't believe in giving to the Most High to assist in his ministry or to help look after those who were in need. But I wasn't trying to put 100 beans in Pastor Mace's offering plate when I'm sitting there knowing this guy's a demon and my spirit is telling me this ain't the way. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. Knowledge is having knowledge of the laws, statutes, and commandments. Wisdom is more than knowing the truth. It is putting this knowledge and truth into practice. And knowing that Israel is a set-apart people, are subject to set-apart rules, ordinances, observances, and Yahweh has not dealt so with any other nation. That is true understanding. A man has a shadow of protection when he is wise about how he manages his money and the transactions he makes. Scripture tells us a fool and his money are soon parted. If the elite can control your smart investments, can limit your ability to make financial decisions that circumvent his will, which ultimately is to control you, if he can eliminate the very construct that grants you independence by regulating your human interaction, subject to the way you buy, sell, or spend, then you become subject to his will. Hence the plan to microchip the masses and introduce a system where your gain, earnings, and spending habits are effectively taxed and regulated. Shalom, Yasharala. Quick lesson concerning the latest coronavirus headline. One that should resonate with the body of Israel. The World Health Organization has advised people to stop using cash, if at all possible, because paper bills have shown to help in the spread of the coronavirus. Well, look at that. This looks like the beginning of the moment we've been waiting for. If I were a superstitious man, I would say don't say nothing, because you might jinx it. Clearly, the order has been handed down from the top, and it's time to set their plan for a cashless society in motion. This idea of going cashless to negate the spread of the coronavirus is all over the web, literally, and a major headline reported by every news agency across the globe. So needless to say, the powers that shouldn't be are anxious and want to get this thing rolling. This lends to the notion of why they still haven't called this a pandemic, primarily because they are interested in setting the parameters and controlling the narrative, but clearly they've lost a handle on this thing, and the sense of panic is far beyond their control. So much so that they've gotten everybody pretty much where they want them. Now they can start introducing the solutions to the chaos they've orchestrated in this Hegelian dialectic of an outbreak. Let's watch this clip.
Breaking news tonight, the new coronavirus scare at LAX. An airport medical screener testing positive. Were travelers exposed? California reporting its first death. A state of emergency declared in Los Angeles County. A new warning from health officials. Avoid handshakes and hugs. The release of the new James Bond movie delayed, but for months, growing concerns about movie theaters, concerts, and sporting events. Also, the major airlines slashing flights inside the U.S. and shortage fears inside a top American hospital's emergency stockpile. How long would it last?
Lately, when you hear tell of the virus, the measures being taken to combat its spread, you also hear of its impact on the Dow, the GDP, and of course the world's economy on the whole. Two adages I've learned that I've put into high rotation as of late. All roads lead to Rome, and follow the money. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 12, and it reads, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." America is the rebirth of Rome, and so the first beast before him is speaking of the pagan Roman Empire. Examples of that can be found in every facet of life in the United States, especially America's favorite pastimes, sports and entertainment. Today's sports arena is nothing more than a modernized version of the Roman Coliseum, the Staples Center, the Barclays, the Superdome, even the Hard Rock Stadium in Florida where they held Super Bowl 54. Incidentally, all Super Bowl meets are chronologized by Roman numerals, hence Super Bowl LIV, which reminds me of a URL battle. Isn't it evil to live backwards? For those who know. Heated floors, gymnasiums, which is Greco-Roman, but we know that so-called white man's rulership is a reincarnation of the past kingdoms he's ruled and sometimes conquered, essentially transferring from one kingdom to another. Senate rule, the legal system, medical system, science even, all governed by ancient Roman idioms and terminologies. In order to advance in their studies, you must know Latin. The chemicalization of water in Rome was lead, in America it's fluoride, as well as the idea that has caused the spread of chemicals like atrazine, which contaminates tap water supplies for about 8 million Americans. Greek mythology and the worship of gods, commemorated by the naming of days and months, not to mention celebrations and so-called holidays, down to the worship of pale Jesus. All these things are indicative of the pagan Roman Empire being transferred to the Virginia corporation that is America in its rule. You know what else is a practice of antiqual Rome's ingenuity? The devaluation of money and then its inflation. Down to verse 14. "And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live." That image is the rebirth of Rome made manifest by America, that patriotic belief and idea America is a beacon of light to the world. The idea of the U.S.'s posterity should be maintained by its military might, sexual liberation, the freedom to practice homosexuality, shop until you drop, live fast, die young, the incorporation of all nationalities, particularly their belief systems, do as thou wilt. This is all the spirit of ancient Rome. This is Revelation 13 and 15. "And he," the he is Esau, "had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed." You see that taking place now as much as these other nations who are being affected by the virus mimic America, particularly in its ideas surrounding capitalism and its appetite for delicacies. They pride themselves in being anti-American in their practices and belief systems, especially those who emigrate to the U.S. but have no desire to be American. They're strictly for making money and an opportunity to create a better life for their families back home, and as such clearly define their opposition to American way of life. And then there too are the nations on a whole who are now separating themselves from the stench of American politics and its so-called diplomacy. This leads right into Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 to 18, the mark of the beast. The elite banking families and global leaders' plans to microchip the world. For those that don't agree and refuse to conform, there are many who will submit, left limited to little or no options. Really what spirited this commentary, subject to the will and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah, was the latter of the two adages, follow the money. And through the spirit, I did that literally and started looking at what we all look at when we thirst for a good conspiracy. I say that facetiously, by the way. So, anyways, I started looking at the very thing that the elites are attempting to do away with, American currency, particularly their paperbacks, starting with the dollar bill. And two bills jumped out at me, actually. The infamous $1 bill is always a good place to start. As you can see, I pretty much visually broke down the areas I felt most significant. You already know that the coronavirus, Corona, Salakia, means crown, which led me to its etymology, and I myself found it prudent to point out that it is a Latin term that surrounds military service. And the beast's posterity is due to its military might. What this says to me is this is a deliberate military operation, and some have been so bold as to call it biowarfare. Side note, isn't it a bit strange that only now the other arm of the government, and I'm referring to MSM, the mainstream media, is reporting the wearing of a mask not necessary as it does little to safeguard against contracting the virus? I heard that honestly on Canadian news last year. What quickly came to mind is how wearing the mask counters the biometric rollout, primarily facial recognition. Anyways, just a thought, but pay particular attention to the eye on top of the pyramid, and that's all I'm going to say on that, being a picture is worth 1,000 words. The other bill that sparked my interest was the $100 bill. I noticed that every time the media reported the idea of destroying paper money could quell the spread of the virus, a $100 bill was used, American or otherwise. In any event, the denomination used was usually 100. Now, I've read that most who see this character made by the bill being folded interpret it to be a nuclear missile hitting the water, which may very well take place, but what's first came to my mind was the Space Needle in Seattle. The fog-filled like atmosphere being the dispensation of the virus. Considering the elite have a tendency to demonstrate their evil plans via TV and movies, this idea reminded me of a Netflix series that I had binged. They ended up not picking it up for another season. It was called The Colony. Seattle being ground zero and turning LA into a bioweapon was eerily similar to recent events. Anyways, something to consider. So to wrap up, what further drives the idea home regarding the elite and their ability to finally implement the mark of the beast and its system is they too are directing attention to credit cards, that they might also create a threat as the virus survives longer on hard surfaces, thus making it more easily transferable. Wouldn't you know? As I said, this was supposed to be a quick commentary, so I'm going to end off here. Kala Lao Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Rakak Dash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles who ruled well and taught me this truth. Until next time, Yasharala Shalom. Don't take that chip.